Wish I was a slave to an age-old trade, like riding around on rail cars and working long days. Lord, have mercy on my rough and rowdy ways. Lord, have mercy on my rough and rowdy ways.
Hello. We are here again with a very, very good friend, an incredible singer and vocalist, songwriter, the lovely and ever-talented Britny Lobas.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. This is a lot of fun. This is our third of these kind of sit-downs with our friends that we make music with to ask them some questions, and definitely had to have you in the backyard to come hang out and chat.
And it literally could not be a more beautiful day.
It's very nice. It is lovely today.
It's like a resort. It's like a resort back here.
Let's see. I think you're going to kick us off.
I will kick us off. The first question that we have for you is, when did you first discover that you have a passion for singing?
So I started singing in church, and I would say I was probably 6 or 7, and my mom would write like musicals and plays for church, and I got like a little solo in the play and kind of just started singing. And I don't know if like I realized when I was that young, I don't even really remember being that young, but I know I started singing when I was around that age, and then I just can't really ever remember wanting to do anything else. It was kind of like turned into my whole life, really.
Yeah.
Did you know when you were that young that you wanted to like sing as a career, or has that always been what you've wanted to do with your life?
Yeah, I'd say probably like I distinctly remember maybe when I was like around 9, because I got like a lead in the play, and yeah, and then that's really kind of became my whole identity, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah, that's really all I ever wanted to do.
I feel like I think there's a middle ground with that. Like, that's something that we've talked about a lot,
Yes.
is growing up singing in church. And even when we met and connected, you were doing music in church when you were older, like getting into your early adulthood, like late teens, early 20s. But I think that there's something very, very positive about having an environment in which you can make music, in which it is participated in a community sense, like singing together in church, and it all being around such an uplifting atmosphere. Like,
Yeah.
it can, I think that it can do a lot in you and for you at a young age in that kind of context. And in turn, we've also talked about what it's been like growing up and trying to own who you are as a performing artist outside of that context.
Yeah.
What do you feel like, did you have challenges, like, as you were navigating, having grown up singing in church and starting to explore, like, who you were as a songwriter and a singer in a very, like, in different environments? What was that experience like for you?
You know, I feel like obviously in the music industry, there's a lot of egos and there's a lot of judgment, but I also feel like there is a lot of that in the church too. So I feel like there are a lot of differences, but in the same way, I almost feel like I was more accepted outside of church than I was in church. A lot of the reasons why I left the church when I was younger was because of just, the singing and saying, I sang for more myself than I did for God and things like that. I had to step away. And so I feel like in that part of my life, I was more accepted outside the church. But yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
But
And I think that's one of the hardest things. Like, if you ask somebody, and I say this because I think that it is such a common denominator for a lot of singers. You can ask any number of singers, oh, where did you get your start singing? And so many of them will say, in church. But then if you ask them what that was like, you get every different kind of experience, both from the kind of music that was being sung in church, to the way that it was structured, to the way that leadership was doing things well or not well, like so many different things. And I think regardless, there's always going to be something to navigate going from one to the other. But I love how you sing, what you do, the way that you carry yourself. I don't remember where I was going with that next bit of that, so we should probably just move on to the next question. Okay. Can you recall the first time that you mentioned kind of identifying as a singer? Do you feel like there was a moment when it really latched on for you when you were maybe a little bit older, not necessarily really little, like when you started really thinking of yourself as a singer or as an artist? Tell me.
So where I went to high school, my city was pretty big, so there were 3 different high schools. So I went to Normandy High, and it was right when like American Idol started becoming popular. I still remember Kelly Clarkson's haircut when she won. It was so great. But so after American Idol had kind of started, the 3 high schools did like an American Idol, but it was called Tri-School Idol. And so I remember I was like 14, maybe 15, early, young. And so I decided to do it. And so I did, and I didn't win, and I was like devastated because, I just had these big dreams and thought I was so great, and then somebody else won, and I was like, what? And so I decided to do it again the next year, and then I won. And, it was a huge deal. I was in the newspaper. My name was, like, on the city marquee. I went and took pictures with my parents. And then it was just, like, okay, like, I won something. Because I did, like, like the little city fairs. And I don't even know what they're called. Fair, maybe. But I would sing, like, the national anthems and do those sort of things around that age, too. And then when I won the contest and, people were like, you're so great. And, I would start to get like a small fan base. I was like, wow, this is really what I want to do. And I always kind of wanted to do it because my dad is a musician. He was the whole time I was growing up. So I remember that distinct moment. And I sang Chain of Fools by Aretha Franklin and Impossible by Christina Aguilera.
Love it.
When I was in high school, I feel like there's a lot of musicians have a similar story about how they like got the bug being like, I have to be an artist now. When I was in high school, there was Battle of the Bands at our high school, and I entered when I was I think I was a senior. No, I was a junior, and I won Battle of the Bands. And when I say I won, I didn't have a band. I just played acoustic guitar. And I played Jack Johnson and Jason Mraz songs. But the like prize was that you got to open for Bob Schneider at a concert. And so I got
It was a pretty good deal.
Yeah,
wow.
It was so I got to put this band together and play for like a lake party event at a resort opening for Bob Schneider, and then I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah.
But then what comes along with that afterwards is that you discover it's not easy. It's actually very hard.
Yeah.
Have you ever, like, what was a distinctive moment you remember where, so you got the bug, you were like, this is what I want to do with my life. Was there a moment later on where you realized, okay, this is actually like really hard to do?
I was in Philadelphia sleeping on the streets, trying out for American Idol.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like for 2 days I slept on the street with a mentor friend of mine who is an amazing vocalist. Sounded a lot like Linda Ronstadt.
Oh.
And she was incredible. Friends of my mom and dad, but she kind of was my mentor at that time. And we drove to Philadelphia. Slept on the street. It was horrible. It was just awful.
I can't think of anything worse for singers.
Every part of that was awful. Yeah. I mean, it just was. It just sucked. It was bad. And then it was just to get the wristband. And then we got a hotel, and then I had to go back, and it was just like a cattle call. And yeah, I just remember, I don't know if you ever tried out for any of those shows, but it's just like a cattle call. And, you know, I don't even know how they could hear me sing with the, you know, there's just like, I don't even know what qualifications these judges had, but, you know, you're just in like a line and you just sing like 30 seconds. And they were like,
you step forward.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, thank you. And I was like, what?
Right.
I drove all the way here. I slept on the street. I waited all these hours just for 30 seconds of you barely, you know, I mean, there's nerves. There's, you know, you think, jeez, it was awful.
I remember.
Oh, I cried for days.
I tried out for America's Got Talent when I was 18.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, thinking to myself, I don't know how far I'm going to get, but, like, I know that I'm going to make it, like, past the first round. And I definitely, I was not robbed. I was definitely not good enough at that point to make it into something like that. But I definitely thought I was. And I remember the moment of, like, going in, you wait for, like, 8 or 9 hours. You're shuffled through all these different rooms, and you're talking to all these different people who think they've got it, you know, and then you go into a room with, like, 8 other people and stand on a wall, and then they just bring you up for, like, 20 or 30 seconds, and they're like, all right, sing, do your thing, and then they're like, okay, thanks, bye. They just cut you off, you know, and then you're like, well, I guess I suck.
Yeah, that was it.
That's where I'm glad that, like, I think that on shows like The Voice, I think it has come a far way from, like, now even for something like The Voice, I think during the pandemic at least, maybe still, you can at least submit a, like, full minute and 30-second video submission, which you at least get to do from the comfort of your home, like, on your own time.
I've done that.
And if it gets rejected,
didn't make it either.
at least if it gets rejected, though, it's like, it's a little softer.
Yeah, it's
Instead
an
of
email.
asking
It's
people
like,
to,
thank you
like,
so much, but we've decided to go with,
my
you know, a
gosh.
million other people that have submitted.
Yeah.
But good luck in life.
Man, that's brutal, yo.
Yeah.
That's really, really brutal. But hey,
it didn't stop me. I'm still here.
Well, yeah,
still going.
like,
Moved to
I
Austin,
mean,
not to Philadelphia.
yeah, like, so you're from Cleveland originally.
Born and raised, yes,
Born and
ma'am.
raised in Cleveland. Came to Austin how many years ago?
Man, it'll be 11 this fall.
11 years.
I know, it's blows my mind.
And you now, so you are an artist carrying a band underneath your own name. You are Britny Lobas, but you've been in a number of other bands that kind of led up to your point. What transitioned you from being in other bands to eventually making the shift to being an artist just running on your own name?
You know, I think the pandemic just really closed some doors, and then opened up some doors. Because I had done a few previous bands before going solo, but, you know, Corbella was the last band, and we were doing some pretty big things. I was really excited about it. I loved the band. I loved, you know, the songs. I was super passionate and excited for everything we had been doing, but then when COVID happened, and, you know, our bass player had left, and our guitar player had a kid and was kind of doing the family thing, I was just like, you know, I just don't have the energy to just start something over again that I might lose.
Yeah.
Because this was the third time I had put years and energy and money and time into something that just was gone. And so I was like, why don't I just do it under my own name? Because my name is something that I can always have and always and forever have. It's my name. And so at that time also, Austin, my now manager, Austin Breckenridge, really had pushed and encouraged me to go the solo route, and I did not want to do that because having a band was kind of like a crutch. Like, it was always something I could fall back on and kind of, you know, rely on other people's thoughts and opinions and songwriting, and, you know, which I kind of do now, you know, having a team. But I don't know, he just really pushed and encouraged me to go that route, and I am so happy that I did. I almost feel like I should have done it a long time ago. But everything happens the way it happens, and I think those other bands shaped me and molded me into being just Britny Lobas now, but I've really never been so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The responsibility is on you when it's your
very
project,
scary.
right? When you're a collective, it almost feels like nobody has responsibility, right? Because it's like a joint effort.
It's all shared.
Right.
Yeah. What's the best and worst part about that? About having all of that responsibility on your shoulders?
I guess I personally have a lot of, it's a struggle. It's something that I'm working on, but I have a very hard time making decisions, which in my sobriety, I think I've really grown in that, and I've gotten better at that. But being the final say-so, I think is the worst part. But it's also the best part because I always do what I want to do anyways. So it's kind of catch-22. So I don't know, the same answer for both. It's the best part and the worst part that I get the final say-so. It's the best and the worst.
I feel like from the experience of, I've had the benefit of getting to both watch your shows, like watch you perform live from the audience, and also get to sing background vocals for you. And it doesn't matter. On either side of that aisle, it's so easy to understand, like, how you can carry this on your name. Because aside from having talent and just having a natural gift for something, I know the amount of time and years that you've really put into working on your craft and maintaining what you do and pouring that into your songwriting and trying to just create something that not only feels incredibly good and honest to you, but creates such a wonderful live music experience for the people that show up to enjoy your show. So it makes total, like, I never knew when I first came to one of your shows, I actually didn't know that you'd been a part of other bands. I was like, she's just Britny Lobas. And like watching you do what you do, I was absolutely gobsmacked. I was like, where's the t-shirt? Where's the fan group? 'Cause I'm in. And it's really just a pleasure to watch you own that fullness of expression and, you know, all of that, which I guess leads me to another question, which is, as a singer and as a vocalist, what do you love the most about singing itself, and what do you feel like is your growing edge as a singer, like that thing that you feel like you still want to work on and still want to work towards?
Well, I know we talked about this before, but like the impact, impacting people. I love that when I sing it, it's like a release, it's a freedom, and it's just like when I'm up there and I'm singing, I don't think about anything else except that moment. When I'm saying, like, it just comes out of me, and I feel like it's just a moment, and I love that I can impact other people, and that's my hope. You know, I want people to be touched and moved the way I am when I am up there, you know, singing and like pouring myself out into them, because I can't ever help it. It just comes out. And I also think that we also were talking about With You. I feel it's probably the softest, kind of lightest song for me vocally, and I have struggled a little bit with that part of my range and my voice, and I think it's challenging to kind of dip into that softer side of my register, but it's also really fun, and a lot of people love that song. So I think, you know, some lighter songs where I kind of just sing and just show that softer side of me, and that range, I think, is challenging and fun, and something that I would love to dive deeper into.
It's always very interesting to me as a vocal coach and somebody who works with all kinds of different voice types and different personalities. It's always so interesting to me to see the things that come naturally to different singers. And I know so many singers, myself included, who like struggle hardcore with allowing themselves to just go for certain things in like a very powerful way. And that's one of the things that I love about your voice, is that for you the most natural thing is to just allow yourself to go there. Like, the idea that actually settling back and letting something just sit more softly with you, that takes more work. Most of us are, I feel like the vast majority of us are working for the exact opposite. But that's why we all, I think that's why there's so many different kinds of music. That's why there's so many different kinds of singers, is because in the same way that you want to impact people with your music, like the fact that you're working, that the fact that your growing edge is to sing with a bit more of that softness, that's actually the thing that might really impact somebody, is they're going, I struggle with that, whether I'm a singer or not. Like I struggle with allowing that part of my vulnerability to come out. And so somebody that goes to your show and in some way or another picks up on that from you, that's going to connect with them and impact them in a way that they might not even consciously register what they're being encouraged about, but it's like throughout the rest of their week, they're going to remember what you did and be like, I don't know how to describe why I feel differently, but I feel differently than I did before I walked in and before I heard this happen. So I think that that's just really, really cool. Yeah.
I love that.
Well, when you attend a Britny Lobas show, it's very clear that it is a Britny Lobas show. It's not a Corbella show or, like a band show. That's one of the things that I appreciate getting to play in your band, is that it should be called Britny Lobas. You like take the stage and command the stage, which is definitely. So I'm the front man of a band as well. Obviously, if you're watching this is our channel.
Goons.
But front manning is not something that comes naturally to me. It's actually I'm not an outwardly expressive person at all. And so if I need to like be expressive on stage, I have to like really push myself and think about it. But that's definitely something that comes naturally to you and to our last guest, Evan. And that's something that I admire quite a bit. When I think about what I like most about music, it's not performance, it's making the music. So I'd be interested to ask you, it feels like I know what the answer to this question would be, but what's your favorite aspect of music? Is it performance? Is it writing music? Is it singing in the car? What is it?
That's a great question. I'd say performance. I love writing songs though. I think I am a very expressive person. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm a horrible liar, which is a good quality to have, I'm sure. But I just wear them. Like if something's wrong, you're just going to know. I can't hide my emotions. Clearly, that's how I am. And so I feel like when I go through things, and good or bad, especially just, bad shit, I get it out through a song. It's breakups or... I'm married now, so I guess, years ago, just anything. Even breaking up with alcohol, I love to express it and put it in a song, and that's like, okay, now I can move on. So in that way, I think I love writing, songwriting, and expressing myself, but when I'm on stage and I get to sing that song, it's just like, I don't even know, just something overtakes me. So I'd say performance. All of it, but performance is number one. That's a hard question.
Do you get nervous before you perform?
Sometimes. I was really nervous before Lambert's. Remember, we were in the bathroom.
That's the first time I think I ever saw you actually do the whole set live.
Yes.
I'd met you and heard you sing beforehand, but I'd never actually seen you do it live. Yeah.
I think that was like the first. Well, I guess we played the Bastrop show.
Yeah, but I think that was your first like hometown show.
Yeah, it was the first show in like 2.5 years. So I was very nervous for that show. But I think after that, I think I get nervous sometimes, but nerves are always a little good. It's more of like that anxiousness. Like, just come on, man, I'm ready to get up there. I don't want to wait anymore.
It's a healthy level of adrenaline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is an interesting question that just comes to mind now. But how I guess I'll ask it this way. Has performance felt different since you have been sober?
That's a great question. Yes and no. I never drank when I sang ever, which is
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I never did, even when I was drinking all the time. I would never drink the night before a show. I would never drink the day of a show. I would catch up quick. The second I got off the stage, I'd have like 2 shots of Crown and a double Crown and ginger beer waiting for me. I was like, always okay, I'll catch up. But I don't know. I feel yes and no. I feel like I'm still like that dynamic, energetic like person up there, but I do feel like I'm just more clear, and I just don't give a shit anymore. Like I don't care.
So
I cared so much before about what people thought of me, and I mean I still do. I mean we're only human, but I don't know. Now I just care less.
So Evan and I were talking off camera last time when he was over in the backyard.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how interesting it is to play after having a couple drinks, and what the difference is between like playing after having a couple drinks and playing completely sober, and kind of talking about the reality of, at least personally for us, I play better when I'm
A few drinks
like
under.
2 drinks in.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, and I'm not condoning doing this. This is the reason I'm talking about this.
This is the honest conversation.
Yeah. I think it's because or at least my brain will get in the way, and I'll start second guessing what I'm playing, and I'm thinking about other things, and alcohol can suppress some of your inhibitions, which will allow your muscle memory to just come through. What we were talking about in that is, obviously we don't want to do that all the time, and so we were trying to talk about how we can get to a place where that's not the case, and where you're playing just as fluidly and not worrying about it without any alcohol helping you.
Right.
And so I would be interested to ask you what advice you would give to people to just feel more comfortable on stage. What works for you?
You know, so I was actually thinking about this the other day, and quote me if I'm wrong, but Beyonce, she has like an alter ego, right? Sasha Fierce.
Sasha Fierce, yeah.
And I don't really have like an alter ego, but I feel like when I'm on stage, like I get in this like the zone. Like I'm just in this zone, and I can't describe it. I don't know what it is, but there's nothing can just sway me.
I know nothing about this. This is like Beyonce.
Really?
When she's on stage.
You don't know Sasha Fierce?
No.
Was there an album called I Am Sasha Fierce?
No, I think she just did an interview, and she's just like, when she's on stage, she's Sasha Fierce.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's just,
I understand.
That's who she is. She's just a different person.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like playing a character,
role,
or like creating a role play character for yourself in your
Ziggy
mind.
Stardust.
As
Or
like
Prince.
that, so that when you step onto stage, you've so trained your brain. It's almost like, I feel like it falls into the same category as, even if you didn't give it a set name or a character, like it's almost its own. If it doesn't come naturally to you to step on stage and not have 1,000 things in your brain, it's like you start by giving yourself some kind of a mindset or a mantra or an affirmation that is like, once I'm here, I no longer worry about X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. Like, I can do that in rehearsal, I can do that in blah, whatever, but by the time that I'm on stage performing, I don't have to worry about those things anymore, because that will take away from everything it is that I'm trying to both enjoy for myself, but also do in terms of my job for this moment. But that can be hard to, I think that looks really different for everybody, how they necessarily step into that. And I don't know if as singers, I don't know if it's in some degree, I think sometimes it depends on, again, what kind of influences we had in music growing up. But I feel like there's something to getting to go up on stage with only a microphone in your hand and nothing else, and being like, you kind of have this benefit of being like, everything that I have to think about is allowing the music to like hit me, like hit my body, hit my brain, hit my heart, and allowing it to then come back out of me the other direction. That's what I have to do. I don't have to think about playing a guitar, or I'm not having to think about necessarily all those other changes. And so in that, I think there is a certain degree of freedom sometimes that can come with
Yes.
that. But I don't know how you would feel getting on stage with only a microphone in your hand. Like, is
No
that?
thanks.
Yeah, that's not necessarily what you would enjoy the most. But
No.
yeah.
Yeah, there's something very interesting about being on stage. Something I found interesting when I was young was discovering that most musicians were hardcore introverts, like stage musicians. And as somebody who had like serious stage fright when I started performing, I found it so weird that musicians in interviews all the time, like people that I loved to listen to, would talk about how like on stage was the only place that they felt confident, where they were like, it's just me, I'm alone on stage, I don't have to deal with anything anymore, I just get to perform. And that was always the part that was like terrifying to me. Wow. Would you say you're an introvert or an extrovert? I would speculate, but what would you say?
Introvert is when you
Introvert is when you like, when
Kinda
you
like to
get really
keep by
tired, you would rather be alone. Or when you're like really tired and had a hard week,
You'd
an
rather go be
extrovert
with
would
other
want to
people.
go hang out with all of their friends. An introvert would be like, I just want to stay at home and watch a movie.
It's kind of where you draw your energy from. Like if you predominantly and primarily get really energized by being with other people, you tend to be more of an extrovert. But if being around lots of people all the time like drains your energy pretty quick, and you recharge by spending most of your time alone or in smaller one-on-one settings, you tend to be a little bit more of an introvert.
Man, I feel like I'm becoming an introvert.
Me too.
I was just telling Andy the other day, I'm like, now that we moved and we have a house, I was like, man, I really love doing nothing when I have free time, and I love just sitting in my backyard, having a fire. I just love chilling.
Yeah.
But, I do have fun going out too.
I don't know how much
I
of
don't know,
that is
maybe
just growing
50-50.
into an adult.
Yeah, maybe it's
Yeah, I don't know.
hashtag adulting. Becoming an adult. I don't know. But yeah, I never used to like just staying at home. I'd be out like every night. So
I feel like
Half and half,
based
I'd say.
on what I see of how you move through a room on the night of a gig, like watching you engage with people beforehand, like do you feel like that's helpful to you before a set? Do you like to see lots of people before you get on stage, or do you like to just like
Dude, I
get
like
by
to
yourself?
just chill and be by myself. But I know it's part of the job. I always struggle, which I'm sure you both do too, before a show and it's like loud music or there's another band playing and people want to come up and talk to you and they're like, how are you doing? And there's like the loud music is so loud. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my voice before I even get on stage because I have to talk to like 25 people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
God, I would just love to just have the green room and just go sit and just not talk at all.
Just be chill.
Afterward is fun because you're on that high adrenaline kick and you want to sell merch and you want to, sign stuff for people and you want to take pictures and talk to people and hang out. But before,
It's
I
hard.
wish I could chill.
It's definitely hard.
We usually our drive into Austin is almost an hour, so it takes us like an hour to go to wherever we're playing typically, if it's in Austin. And we'll usually listen to like classical music the whole way.
That's awesome.
And often on the drive home as
And
well.
yeah,
That's awesome.
what's so funny to me, and honestly like really helpful to me, is we'll like be performing. It's like crazy loud in a venue. We're like shouting and talking to people for hours. And then we finally load out all our gear, and then all of a sudden it's quiet. We get in the car and we turn on classical music, and we don't say anything to each other.
Yeah, we just
the
don't
whole way
speak.
home.
We just don't even talk. We just
That's amazing.
Do you
That's
have any
amazing.
like rituals that you do after a show to like help you wind down? Satanic rituals?
Honestly, I have Andy always like film the show. So after the show, we'll be driving home and we'll have no music on and I'll just I'll scroll through videos and pictures and be like, how was the show? How did it sound? How did it look? And I'll immediately just go and I'll just watch.
Watch everything?
For hours.
It sounds like my worst nightmare.
I know, it probably is. I think that stems from when I was a child. I had a nickname.
what was your nickname?
Well, kind of a nickname. So my parents, they, those like big like camcorders.
Yeah.
Well, I used to like make movies all the time when I was little, but before that, my parents would always film everything that I did because I was the first child, so I was like always on TV. But I'd always want to watch myself on TV, and so I'd be like, put on Britney on. So my parents were always like, your first album should be called Britney On, because it's all I ever wanted to watch was myself. I guess, I don't know, it's embarrassing to say.
No,
but I'm like, I guess nothing's really changed because I do the same shit. I'm always like, okay, after a show, I'm gonna critique every single song, every single video. How did it sound? How are the moves? How is this? Yeah. It's Andy's worst nightmare too. He's like, after the show, he's like, can you turn that down? I just saw the whole thing.
Listen,
And I'm like, but did this really sound okay? How did this look?
I commiserate because this is the reason why we can function, is because when we do something that's Goons, it's together. I don't feel as heavy of a need to like go look through all of it. But if it's anything that I'm doing for, a solo show or like a video that I've been working on for like my channel or something, like I'm like going back, looking at everything. Absolutely everything. I feel your pain.
Yeah.
And I'm not even the firstborn. I'm the secondborn.
Yeah,
so
man.
I feel you.
Jeez. It's like a curse, Yeah, I'll play a show and I'll be up till like 2 a.m. and then I'll be like, oh my God. Yep. And I'll still watch them again probably the following week. Just, going and clipping and editing and being like, okay, that was good. That was good. That was horrible. We need to work on that.
There's on the flip side of that coin though, comes the benefit of, I think a lot of anybody who wants to work on their singing or their craft or whatever, I feel like it's often more rare that you find somebody who wants to record what it is that they've done and then listen back to it so they really know what's working and what's not working. Even when, I'm trying to remember when this was, maybe post-pandemic, or when we were trying to work on what does our show actually look like visually? How is our stage presence translating? Oh my God.
It's a sign from the universe. It's amazing.
Something just, stage presence.
It would think it was a tree branch.
Like figuring out, okay, do we look like zombies when we're on stage? Are we enjoying ourselves? How's the balance? All of those things. And we did a little bit of that, but we didn't even do all that much extensively. And so I think that there are times and places where, as an artist, it is highly beneficial to record yourself in rehearsal. Watch what it is that you're doing when it's live, because not to get overly in your head about it and then to hyperanalyze and pick everything apart. But if it is something that you are working to build as a craft, it's probably a good idea to do that every now and then, so you have an idea of, okay, is there anything that I am doing that is like very distracting or is just not serving me, like in terms of what it is that I'm trying to do?
Yeah, there's a difference between being hypercritical of yourself and being critical of yourself.
Or you watch back and you're like, God damn, that was so good.
Yeah, you're like,
damn, that sounded good.
A sweet talk can make you feel like it's all or nothing. I got a lot to say. Okay, I know your disposition. I feel your body itching. You got love on the way. We could die young, blood, live until 100. As long as I could do it with you. Move to the music, but we don't have to use it. As long as I could do it with you. With you. With you. With you. Now. Now sweet dreams burning quicker than gasoline. My only fuel is you. It's true. After a shake-up, we wake up. Before we kiss and make up, that's how we get through. We could die young, blooded, live until 100. As long as I could do it with you. Move to the music, but we don't have to use it. As long as I could do it with you. And die young, blood, live until 100.
Thank you so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed that, there's about 15 more minutes of it on our Patreon page. That's exclusive, it's only there. The best way that you can support us as a band is by going to our Patreon and subscribing to us there. It costs about $5 a month. There's some higher tiers, but you can get in for $5 a month. There's exclusive content there, and it's very helpful to us, honestly. We would appreciate it greatly if you would consider doing that.